Hello, welcome to a new video. In this video, I want to give you an introduction to graphic design. There is graphic design and then is graphic design with Photoshop. Graphic design is a field on its own and it can be done with different media. You can have your pen and paper and still come up with graphic design. You can draw, you can paint, different kind of media. But in this case, we are trying to use Photoshop to learn graphic design. So, to use software to achieve graphic design or to use software to design, not only Photoshop that is involved. So, there are other applications. Good examples include Corel Graphic Suite, you have Affinity Designer, and a whole lot of others. So, the first thing I want you to know about design really is about the output. When you design, your images are in two versions. They can come in two ways. Either you have a raster image or you have a vector image. When you work with Photoshop, you are going to be working with raster images. Yeah, your work is going to be raster. And raster in the sense that this this is a picture of a building. When I start to zoom in, when I start to zoom in, up to a point, you start to see the pixels. So pixels are units of design. So you can see each box has a color, and that's the maximum zoom. When you start to zoom out, then the boxes have to disappear, and then you have your image. So in reality, what you have is boxes of colors, of individual colors that make up your picture. So when you have a phone camera, you would expect that under normal circumstances, if a phone has higher megapixel than another, the one that has higher megapixel will capture a better quality picture, and the number of pixels in the picture will be more. So even if they're capturing the same object, the camera with the higher megapixel will give one a larger file and also a better quality file. What comes in into having a larger file or a higher quality file in a number of cases is the number of pixels that is used to represent that picture. Now, when we come to vector images or vector graphics, I'll use Illustrator to show what I'm trying to talk about. So this is a triangle and it's drawn with the vector tool. Currently it is at 39%. If I start to zoom, you will notice that unlike the picture that we had, as we continue to zoom, the quality is maintained. The sharpness of the edges is maintained, and you just have those sharp lines. The reason here is that this vector graphics is represented by math, like coordinates and what have you. So that means raster graphics and vector graphics, they are different. But most of the times, when you're working with images that are captured through the camera, you're going to be working with raster images. Now, in trying to describe softwares that are used for graphic design, what I use mostly is comparing Corel and Adobe software. A lot of people they know Corel Draw, the most popular software in the Corel graphic suite. In Adobe, the most popular software is Photoshop, and that is the one that most people start using. On the other Corel hand, most people start using CorelDRAW. But in truth, these two softwares are not comparable. The suits are comparable, but for what they do, Photoshop is not comparable to CorelDRAW. Adobe Illustrator is comparable to CorelDRAW, while Photoshop is comparable to Corel Photo Paint. Even in the names, Adobe Photoshop, Photo, it is designed, developed mainly to work on photos. While on the other hand, a software like Adobe Illustrator is designed primarily to be used for illustrations, for drawings, complex geometry, and so on. So on the Corel hand as well, you have CorelDRAW, which from the name is comparable to Illustrator, Draw Illustrator, then Adobe Photoshop, Corel Photo Paint. The only thing is, before we got to Adobe CC, that's the new generation of Adobe software. The Adobe softwares used to be packed together, so everything is packed together. The CorelDRAW suite is packed together, and when you're obtaining your software, you obtain everything together. So it's just that it was Photoshop that was popular on one end and CorelDRAW popular on the other end. But when trying to do some work, experienced designers actually make use of different tools, different softwares within those suites to achieve their goal. But all in all, the software that gets people in most, that is popular in the suite for either of the, it is CorelDRAW for Corel and Photoshop for Adobe. So that is that about that. There are some other softwares that are used for specific things in these suites. If you are working with layout, you're trying to do something with magazines and you want to use Adobe, you'll be using Adobe InDesign. So InDesign is very good for laying out books. It's a professional tool for books, for magazines, and so on. But in Corel, you will still be using CorelDRAW. It's only recently that Photoshop started having artboards, and even then, artboard doesn't really compare to pages. So, because if you look at artboards, the name really starts to resonate with art. Like you have a project and you have different artboards. That's by the way, anyway. But these suits, they have knowledge that can be transferred. So when you learn Photoshop, a lot of the tools can also be found in Illustrator. And if you want to go from there to After Effects to Premiere Pro or whatever, the UI, the tools, you can drag in files from one software to another easily. So that I think is the major reason why Adobe is popular, because their suits is very embedded. Once you learn one of the tools, you probably want to learn another tool to expand your skill set. So that's that about Photoshop.